Hey everybody, how's it going? I have something that I was personally really amazed by that I just found since that video that I uploaded yesterday. There's more to this 40-day pattern here that I didn't mention in yesterday's video. This next 40-day watch on March 23rd is the seventh 40-day watch, and 7 periods of 40 days is 280 days, which is the length of a human pregnancy. And somebody mentioned that in a comment from the last 40-day watch back in February, I think it was. So thank you for pointing that out. Or maybe that was back in January. But that pregnancy cycle was part of the first watch period on this chart, June 12th. And it was connected to Noah's timeline. So let's just take a look at this, and this blew my mind. Let me just say that. Okay, so we'll start here. You might remember this video I uploaded February 22nd, 2014. I renamed it Noah Timeline Ended on ISIS Massacre 2014. You can see the calendar in the video showing the watch dates starting on June 11th and going through the true Noah's flood date, June 13th through the 15th. This is another shot of the video here showing the watch date June 11th through the 13th. This was based on the Noah timeline. This is it right here. So you can go back and watch the video if you want, but the quick explanation is Genesis 7 verse 6 says Noah was 600 years old when the flood was upon the earth. And you can see the verse here. And if you don't already understand this, you might want to pause this and read, because I'm not going to go into detail now. It's explained in the other video. But basically, the texts tell us the 777 is either 4 or 5 years before the flood, either at the beginning or the end of Noah's 600th year. And the 777 occurred on the Feast of Trumpets in 2008. It was the stock market crash of exactly 777 points, which occurred exactly 7 years after the stock market crash on the Feast of Trumpets in 2001 after 9/11. Then Hurricane Sandy hit New York in 2012, 4 years after that 777-point stock market crash. And it was the worst flood in New York history, according to reports. And that represented the start of Noah's 600th year. And 5 years after that 777 was the Feast of Trumpets in 2013, which represented the end of Noah's 600th year if the timeline starts at his birth. But if the timeline starts at his conception, we add the pregnancy cycle of 280 days, which ended on June 11th through the 13th, which was the ISIS massacre. That's the short of what we're talking about here in this video. So if you want to know the long version of it and hear all the details, you can go back and watch the video. I'll try to remember to link it below. So you can see the June calendar here showing June 11th through the 13th, and June 13th was the exact date of Noah's reign on the true calendar. So here's the calendar of what happened. The end of that conception timeline from the 777 in 2008 ended on June 11th through the 13th. And the anniversary of Noah's flood reign occurred on the true 17th day of the true second month, which was June 13th through the 15th. So June 11th through the 15th was a high watch for that reason. And the Camp Spiker massacre occurred from June 12th to the 15th. And that was the exact end from the 777 on Noah's timeline, lining up with the true anniversary of the start of Noah's reign. And that's what started this 40-day pattern that has continued since last June. And March 23rd will mark the 7th of these 40-day patterns. So 40 days times 7 is 280 days. And 280 days is the average length of a human pregnancy. It's 40 weeks. So 7 periods of 40 days, it's 40 weeks, the length of a human pregnancy. So as you can see, there's a 3-day window for that next watch. All of these were 3-day windows. As we've been following this, we have the 7th 40-day period starting on March 23rd. But if we count exactly 280 days from June 12th, it lands on March 19th, 2015. Okay, the massacre occurred on June 12th through the 15th. It was a 4-day period. So the 280th day from that will be March 19th through the 22nd, 2015, during the solar eclipse and the start of the first month on the standard Jewish calendar. And this represents the birth after the Islamic State massacre that occurred at the exact end of the 777 in Noah's timeline, which lined up with the true anniversary of the start of Noah's reign. And the birth parable is used over and over in the text. It's not a good thing. People will say, this is the easy to read version. People will say, we have peace and we are safe, but at that time destruction will come to them quickly, like the pains of a woman giving birth. And why does it even say that? Why doesn't it say like the pain of something else? Why does it use the pain of a woman giving birth? And it could be because it's giving us a clue as to the timing of this event, because a woman giving birth always occurs after 280 days approximately. It's always been the same thing. It doesn't change. The gestation of a human 280 days. So it seems like it might be giving us a clue here that the destruction will happen after a 280-day cycle. Where that, the length of the pregnancy, but where that cycle starts, we can't be sure, but the texts tell us the major destruction is an asteroid impact that causes tidal waves. Jesus said the end event, when the stars fall, will be like the days of Noah. People will be just going along with their regular lives, and it'll happen suddenly, like a thief in the night, just suddenly in 1 hour. They'll just be going along with their regular lives before the flood, and we're told it's an asteroid impact causes tidal waves. The 777 in this story, though, is a clue. If the begetting, when it says Noah was begat, if the begatting of Noah was his birth, and the 777 in 2008 was the clue, then Noah's 600th year began when Hurricane Sandy hit New York. That was the worst flood in New York's history. But if the begatting of Noah was his conception, then Noah's 600th year ended not on the Feast of Trumpets of 2013, but 280 days after that, on June 11th through the 13th, at the true anniversary of the flood date, when Noah's reign started, when the Islamic State massacre instigated world retaliation. So we're just going to follow the timeline the texts give us here, and this blew me away. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the text and we're going to follow exactly what this timeline says in the story of Noah. Verse 6, Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were upon the earth. We already looked at that. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up and the windows of heaven were opened. So that's the 17th day of the second month right here. The rain started. You can see this. The true second month started on May 28th. That was the new moon. And the 17th day of that true second month started on the 13th. It's always a 3-day window for all those days. So the rain started at the exact end of Noah's 600th year if he was begat at conception, and if the 777 in 2008 represented the death of Lamech. It lined up with the exact 17th day from the new moon of May 28th, which was the true second month on the ancient calendar, the day the rain started. Then verse 12 says, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So we have a 3-day window starting on June 13th through the 15th. Counting from both the new moon and the first crescent, it's that 3-day window. Starting from that, Noah's reign, it says it will rain 40 days and 40 nights. So 40 days and 40 nights from June 13th lands on July 23rd. You can pause to count this if you want. It's 40 days and 40 nights. So the first day and night ends on June 14th, and the 40th day and night ends on July 23rd. So the 3-day window was July 23rd through the 25th, when Jonah's tomb was destroyed by ISIS on July 24th. We also know there was a 40-day period in the story of Jonah. So that's what led us to follow these 40-day periods in the first place. But right now we're going to stay with the Noah timeline because it continues and we haven't looked at this yet. And this is just mind-blowing. Okay, so in verse 24, it says the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And there are two ways to view this. Either the 150 days starts on the day the rain started in verse 11, or the 150 days starts after the 40 days and nights. If you count from the day the rain started on the 17th day of the second month, on the true calendar, which was June 13th through the 15th, if you start then when Noah's reign started, then the 150th day will end up on November 10th. Specifically November 10th through the 12th, the date of the Apex Summit, and also the comet landing occurred on the 12th. So then Genesis 8 verse 3 continues. It says, and after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated and the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month. So here's a list of the new moons here. May 28th new moon was the start of the second month, and the 7th month started on October 23rd. And that was the Feast of Trumpets on the true calendar. Okay, so it says in verse 4, the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. That could also be mountain. And that's right here. So the 17th day of the 7th month is the 8th through the 10th. And the 150th day is the 10th through the 12th. And it's interesting that the comet landing occurred on that window because it says the ark rested on the mountain at that time. So I just wonder about that. Does the mountain represent the comet? Because it talks about the comet a lot in the text too. So I don't know. I'm just pointing that out. Then verse 5 says, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. Okay, the tops of the mountains or the top of the mountain, as in the comet? I don't know. But the 10th month on the ancient calendar started on the new moon of January 20th. And that's the day it says the tops of the mountains were seen, or the top of the mountain was seen. That's the new moon on the exact 7th anniversary of the oath of office, 2009. That was the exact start of Obama's 7th year, coinciding with the exact start of the true 10th month, which is rare. By the way, the 10th month in the southern hemisphere will occur in the summer. So this wasn't the only 10th month in the 7th year. It'll happen again. But this was significant, and it coincided with the date the top of the mountain was seen, or the tops of the mountains. And then verse 6 says, and it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark, and he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up. And he also sent forth a dove to see if the waters were abated from off the ground. So 40 days from January 20th ended on March 1st, specifically March 1st through the 3rd, since we include a 3-day window counting from both the new moon and the first crescent. And the Prime Minister of Israel arrived in Washington on March 1st and addressed Congress on March 3rd. So in the Temple of Saturn, the leader of the Antichrist, Little Horn, made his speech the day the dove and the raven were released this year. Then verse 9 says, but the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her into him into the ark. Then verse 10, and he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. Okay, watch this. So another 7 days, that was March 8th through the 10th. The 8th through the 10th, March 10th. And notice it's verse 10. It's saying this. That's not the first time that's happened, and it's going to happen, I think, 2 more times. This is amazing to me. Just, okay. Okay, so that was verse 10 that occurred on March 10th this year. That does not happen every year. That's just it may seem like a coincidence the first time, but it's going to happen 2 more times. Watch this. March 10th happened. I'm sorry, verse 10 happened on March 10th. Okay. Then verse 11 says, and the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again to him any more. So that will be Sunday, the 15th through the 17th. The dove was released and did not return. And then verse 13, and it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, in the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. Okay, now notice this, because this is profound. Right after the dove is released in verse 12, the first day of the first month is the next date, right? Okay, the first day of the first month on the standard calendar starts on March 20th or 21st, that new moon. But notice we're following the ancient calendar dates here. The releasing of the dove, March 15th through 17th, that's based on the ancient calendar date. That's the ancient calendar, not the standard calendar. So the first month on the ancient calendar, that doesn't start until April 18th, which is a week after standard calendar unleavened bread. The standard calendar is a month before the ancient calendar. So the first day of the first month, as it says on the ancient calendar, that's April 18th that starts, because we're following the ancient calendar here. The release of the dove on the ancient calendar. But this year, the standard calendar first month starts 3 days after the dove is released on the ancient calendar. I mean, it's almost as if the Elohim knew the ancient calendar release of the dove would fall in the same week the standard calendar starts their first month, the date of the solar eclipse. This was really profound to me, but there's more. But I mean, just so we're on the same page. So the ancient calendar, which is the releasing of the dove here, on that calendar, March 20th is the start of the 12th month. That's the calendar we're following here. So right after the release of that dove, the 12th month is going to start on that calendar. And look at the verse. It's verse 12. He stayed for another 7 days and sent forth the dove. So this is occurring right before the start of the 12th month, in verse 12. And it's probably always like that. It's the moon cycles. I mean, the releasing of that dove for the final time is always going to occur around the time of the start of the 12th month on the biblical calendar. So that was clever. I mean, that might be why it's in verse 12, because whoever is really studying this is going to look at that and say, oh, wow, verse 12 occurs right before the start of the 12th month on the biblical calendar. And that makes sense. But watch this. Then it jumps to the first month in verse 13, which also makes sense because the 13th month is the first month, right? So it makes sense. But watch this. Okay, the first month, the first day of the month, Noah removes the covering of the ark. That's right after the dove is released. But this year, the standard calendar first month is 3 days after that releasing of the dove on the ancient calendar. Okay, so because the start of the first day of the first month on the standard calendar occurs right after that dove is released, we're going to put a note here for the removal of Noah's covering on the first day of the first month on the standard calendar on March 20th. So it says the first day of the first month. I'm blown away by this. Right after the dove is released on the ancient calendar, the standard calendar starts in the first month, and a solar eclipse occurs on that date, and it's also the 280th day from the start of the reign, specifically the Islamic State attack that occurred on the start of the reign. This right here is the pains of birth, right here. I mean, this watch date next week is so much bigger than I first realized. All next week and in the week after that, but there's more. Okay, so, but we also need to put this on the true first day of the first month. The Noah removed the covering of the ark on the first day of the first month. The true first day of the first month is April 18th through the 20th. So we're going to put it on that date as well. And we don't know whether verse 13 is referring to the standard calendar or the ancient calendar now, because it seems to have converged at verse 13. So, okay, so we'll look at both of them. We'll look at the first day of the first month on both the standard calendar and the ancient calendar. Okay. But this is just, oh, this blew my mind. Okay. The standard calendar first month, it starts on March 20th. And the ancient calendar first day of the first month starts April 18th. Okay, so we have Noah's covering removed on both those dates because we don't know which one it's referring to now. But get this, get this. In verse 14, it says, and in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day, or the 27th day, the earth was dry, and God said, go forth of the ark. Okay, so that's the 27th day of the second month. So the first month on the standard calendar starts on the new moon of March 20th. That's the first month. So the second month on the standard calendar will start on the new moon of April 18th. So the 27th day of the second month will be May 14th through the 16th. That's the standard calendar. If we start at the new moon on April 18th, that would be the second month on the standard calendar, and May 14th through the 16th would be the 3-day window for the 27th day of the second month. Oh my goodness. This blew my mind. And look at the date. It's May 14th. No, also notice, by the way, that's 7 days after the true 7th day of unleavened bread on the ancient calendar. This 7th day of unleavened bread, the week before that, that's the ancient calendar. So this is the standard calendar here. The 27th day of the second month is occurring 7 days after the true 7th day of unleavened bread on the ancient calendar. Okay, but get this. The 27th day of the second month occurs on May 14th. And which verse did this occur in? Verse 14. Okay, so remember the other one, March 10th, occurred in verse 10. Okay, verse 10 occurred on March 10th, Gregorian calendar. Verse 12 occurred just before the start of the 12th month on the biblical calendar. Okay, that's fine. That's normal. They were smart. The writers of this were smart. Verse 13 occurs in the first day of the first month. Okay, again, they're just being smart. That's the 13th month is the first month. Okay, but what about verse 14, the 27th day of the second month occurring on May 14th? And verse 10 also occurring on March 10th. That's rare. That's really rare. But I'm not done. There's more. Okay. So the 14th of May is the 27th day of the second month on the standard calendar. And the reason we're following the standard calendar is because it converged. We were following the ancient calendar, but then in verse 13, it converged into the standard calendar. I hope I'm explaining this right. I hope that you're following here. And the 14th verse occurs not on the 14th day of the biblical month, but on the 14th day of the Gregorian calendar month of May. Okay. I was blown away by that. And so what we're going to do is, but we also, that was profound, but we need to also consider the ancient calendar as well. So for verse 14, so it says the 27th day of the second month on the ancient calendar would be, get this, exactly one Gregorian year from the start of Noah's reign on the ancient biblical calendar. Please tell me if you see how unbelievable this is. This is so amazing to me anyway. The exact window for the 27th day of the second month when Noah exits the ark will be June 13th through the 15th, 2015, which is exactly one Gregorian calendar year from the date Noah's reign started on the ancient biblical calendar, the true 17th day of the second month last year, June 13th through the 15th. Okay, this makes it clear, done, hands down, that whoever wrote the book of the story of Noah fully understood the biblical calendar and how it compares to the modern Gregorian calendar. Hands down, done. I mean, there's no way that's coincidence. I mean, I'll say it again because it blew my mind. The end. Okay, 1 year they're in the ark. The flood's going on. It's basically 1 year, right? The end of that, the start of that was here, right? The rain started on June 13th through the 15th, 2014. The rain started on that day, right? On the ancient calendar. And they exited the ark. They exited the ark. Okay, wait. The rain starts on the 17th day of the second month on the biblical calendar. The 17th day of the second month. That corresponded to June 13th through the 15th in 2014. The 17th day of the second month. That's when the rain started. And they exited the ark on the 27th day of the second month, which also corresponds to June 13th through the 15th in 2015. There's no way that's an accident. Whoever wrote the story of Noah knew how to compare the biblical calendar, the ancient biblical calendar, with the modern Gregorian calendar. That's what the riddle is. I mean, I can't. I'm so blown away. I had to pause so much on this because I had to repeatedly go over it again and again to retain it because it's so unbelievable. But it's so real, and it's so clear that just everything is telling us that it's right now, that this is so real and it's right now, and we don't know the day or the hour. I mean, okay, but why did Jesus say that? I mean, why didn't Jesus just say, you're not going to know when this is going to happen? You won't know when this is going to happen. It's so easy to just say that. You won't know when this is going to happen. Why didn't he say, you won't know the year? You won't know the month. You won't know the week. He didn't say that. He said, you won't know the day or the hour. So that means it's not at midnight. That means midnight means something else, because remember it said in Matthew 25, midnight. No, midnight means something else. It does not refer to the hour, because he said right here, you won't know the hour and you won't know the day either. But wait, why didn't he say we won't know the week? I mean, he said watch. That's why he said watch. And that's what we do. That's what we do. That's why we look at these dates. Anyway, I'm blown away. I hope that that was inspiring or something for you. I hope you're all doing okay, and I'll let you go, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.